one on that flight expected the crying to last so long. Passengers shifted in their seats, pulling off their headphones, letting out slow, frustrated sighs. And somewhere in the middle of row 18, a man in an expensive suit held his face in his hands, whispering gently to the little boy beside him, a little boy who couldn't hear a single sound he was making. His name was Ethan. He was 7 years old, and he was deaf. The man was his father, a quiet, exhausted millionaire named Jacob Whitmore. Money could buy him a private jet, assistants, drivers, but none of that mattered in this moment. His son needed comfort, and he was failing. The crying only grew louder, shaking the shoulders of the small boy who clung to his father's shirt like he was drowning. And then, a tiny hand tapped Ethan's shoulder. A little girl, no more than 8, stood in the aisle smiling at him, and began moving her hands in gentle motions. Sign language, and everything changed. Before we dive deeper into this emotional journey of connection and unexpected kindness, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below. Your support helps our channel grow and lets us bring you more heartfelt stories like this one. Thank you for being part of your channel name. Jacob Whitmore wasn't the type of man people expected to see struggling in public. In the business world, he was the calm center of any storm, always polished, composed, and in control. But fatherhood was different. Fatherhood cracked him open, exposing parts of himself he didn't show anyone else. That morning had already been overwhelming. Traveling alone with Ethan was never easy, but this time was worse. The airport was crowded, louder than usual, and full of people rushing past them. Ethan, highly sensitive to movement even if he couldn't hear the noise, started becoming distressed long before they boarded the plane. By the time they were in the air, he was already on the edge of a meltdown. Jacob held him closely, rubbing his back, signing. As best as he could, "It's okay. Dad is here. You're safe." But Ethan wasn't looking. Tears blurred his eyes until the world became a shaky, frightening blur. Passengers around them tried to be patient, but Jacob felt the stares, some sympathetic, some annoyed, some cold. Every pointed look felt like a judgment he couldn't escape. He whispered apologies even though he knew his son wouldn't hear them, and guilt pressed harder on his chest with every passing minute. Then, just as he was about to break, someone slid into the aisle beside them. She was small, with curly hair tied in a pink ribbon and crayons sticking out of her little backpack. Her name was Lily. She looked from Jacob to Ethan and then gently tapped Ethan's arm, making sure not to startle him. Ethan turned toward her, still sobbing, but she didn't flinch. Instead, she lifted her hands and signed slowly, carefully, "Are you okay?" Ethan froze, his breath hitched, his hands slowly lifted, shaky from crying, and he signed back, "No, my ears hurt, and I am scared." Lily nodded like it was the most natural thing in the world. She signed again, "It's okay. I am scared of planes too. Want to sit with me?" Jacob's mouth fell open. For hours he had tried and failed to calm his son, yet this tiny stranger had connected with him in seconds. With permission from the flight attendant, Lily's mother switched seats so Lily could sit beside Ethan. Jacob watched as the little girl took out her sketchbook and crayons. She signed, "Let's draw together. It helps me feel brave." Ethan wiped his tears and nodded. His breathing slowed. His shoulders loosened. It was as if someone had flipped a switch inside him. Just like that, the storm faded. Jacob leaned back in his seat, tears building in his eyes, not from exhaustion this time, but from relief. He watched them draw pictures of cats, airplanes, and superheroes, each drawing accompanied by signs, giggles, and the softest little smiles that returned to Ethan's face. The boy who had been trembling minutes ago was now calm, focused, and safe, all because a little girl had cared enough to reach out. Jacob caught Lily's mother's attention across the aisle. "I don't know how to thank you," he whispered. She smiled. "Lily's cousin is deaf. She's been learning sign. She saw your son crying and wanted to help. That's just who she is." When the flight attendants passed by, even they stopped to watch the sweet interaction. The tension in the cabin melted, replaced with soft smiles and the kind of warmth only kindness can create. After nearly an hour of drawing and signing, Ethan finally fell asleep with his head on Lily's shoulder. She didn't move. She didn't complain. She just sat there, still as a statue, a little hero in pink sneakers. Jacob covered his son with a blanket and gently touched Lily's arm. "You're very special," he said softly. "You helped my boy more than I ever could." She grinned. Sometimes kids understand kids better than grown-ups. When the plane landed and everyone stood to gather their things, Ethan woke up, looked at Lily and signed, "Thank you. You made me happy." Lily signed back, "Friends?" Ethan nodded with a smile bigger than anything Jacob had seen in months. As they walked off the plane, the passengers who had once glared now approached Jacob and Lily's mother to say how beautiful it was to watch. One elderly woman patted Lily's head and said, "Sweetheart, you made this whole plane kinder today." At baggage claim, Jacob knelt down beside Lily. "I want to give you something," he said, pulling a small card from his wallet. "If you or your mom ever need anything at all, you call this number." "I mean that." Lily's mother recognized the logo on the card. "Wait, are you Jacob Whitmore, the Whitmore Foundation?" Jacob nodded, embarrassed. "Yes, but today, none of that matters. Today I was just a dad who couldn't help his son. And your little girl stepped in when I couldn't." Lily's mother placed a hand on her heart. She didn't do it for a reward. She did it because kindness matters. Jacob nodded slowly. "I know. And that's exactly why I want to remember this moment forever." He looked at Ethan, who was now holding Lily's hand like they had known each other for years. Then he looked at Lily and said, "You taught me something today. Kindness doesn't need money, or power, or titles. It just needs a brave heart." Before parting ways, the children hugged. And just as they pulled apart, Lily signed one more thing to Ethan: "You're not alone." That simple message, so small, so pure, went straight into Jacob's heart. As he walked out of the airport, holding his son's hand, Jacob whispered, "Remember today, buddy. Remember the girl who saw your pain and didn't walk away. Kindness is real, and it can change everything." Ethan nodded. "Yes, Dad. She made me feel heard, even when I can't hear anything." Jacob pulled him close. "That's the magic of kindness. In a world where people rush, judge, and look away, a little girl reminded an entire airplane that compassion still exists. She didn't solve every problem. She didn't need to. She simply cared, and that was enough to calm a frightened child, soften tired strangers, and teach a millionaire father that even the smallest hands can make the biggest difference. Let this be a reminder to all of us. Kindness costs nothing, but its impact can last a lifetime. So today, be the person who reaches out. Be the person who signs, "Are you okay?" When someone's world feels too loud, be the person whose small gesture becomes someone else's miracle. Because kindness doesn't just change moments, it changes hearts. And sometimes, it changes everything.